Hi everybody, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Luca Collina, and we're going to be talking about, um, well, life as it is in the world. We live in an AI world, and what do we need to do to thrive? Do we need to get new skills? Is there anything that we should be trying to learn? Is there things that we need to be thinking about? So, Lucas, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. I do think it's funny that you do actually live not very far from me in London. Let people know where can people find you?
People can find me physically in Wimbledon.
Yeah.
That reminds my surname Collina. That is a hill in English, in full of hills. And I live here and I work here. I have my company based in Wimbledon. The company is Transfer Age TCA Ltd. And mostly I work remotely, but for me this is a central point to move around London because it's fantastic for the public transport. It's incredible.
Mm. So, in the world of AI, I hear a lot of people talking about AI, and we've had elements of automation for years now. And the thing is that people are talking. We've moved probably from automation to augmentation, and for many people, they fear some sort of automation because it will replace their job. From your perspective, where do we see the balance between automation and augmentation for human work?
Okay, let me say that the first is a definition. Okay, automation, augmentation, automation. It has been in the centuries a way to remove tedious and dangerous tasks. And this doesn't change with the digital world. But they need human beings to check that the automation has worked. Okay. The augmentation is another point that is incredibly growing in quality, is what you can do using artificial intelligence. And I have seen that is impressive in marketing, in writing emails, okay, for the marketing campaign. There are so many. We can stay here and prepare a list for 2 hours and we'll never finish. But there is this augmentation is how you can do your work better. And if it's not connected with the time that you spend. Yes, of course, takes less time, but the time that is spare is to use your brain to think about the different solutions, different strategies. And I can confirm this because sometimes I do a research. Okay, you finish the research in 2 hours. And you start looking at it, say, sorry, why I couldn't find this? Let me investigate. And you investigate and you put together two things. You have expanded your knowledge in 2 hours and a half. This is an example for research. So I don't believe that for some jobs they will be replaced by AI. My question is for everybody that is online. Do you trust artificial intelligence? No. So you need to put your brain work on it.
I think it's really interesting, isn't it, that people say, "Oh yeah, AI is going to replace everything," and then he says, "Do you trust AI?" And then we'll say, "Well, I've heard loads of stories about hallucinations, and lawyers have done this and put forward that there's like, okay, so if you don't trust AI, then why do you think AI is going to replace everything?" Because
okay, there are speculations now. I start and stop immediately. There are speculation for people that are writers, opinionists, okay, that they try to do their job, confusing people, but they always a little bit of transparency that comes from what is already known to say no, 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 no. However, so the discussion is fuel in the newspaper, digital newspapers, and so on.
Yeah, I
All
was reading. I was reading. I read an article this week about how AI will replace self-help books.
okay. This is another. Okay, let me see. Let me tell you how I see it. There are so many books, very valid, about self-help for whatever topic. Okay, from sport, rehabilitation, but sometimes to feel a book, it takes time. You can send a summary, okay, because you can't sell it. One. Secondly, people have different ways to absorb. But if you ask for a summary tuned to your personality, you give something. You can read the last pages and try to put in action because it's a sort of relationship. But you don't trust, never trust what it writes. Why? Because it's a process ongoing also for him. Sorry, I called him for it. My apologies.
So in terms of hybrid roles, we're seeing new job titles and blended skill sets emerge. Can you give me an example of hybrid roles that didn't exist a few years ago, and what tells us about the future of work?
Okay, I wrote today and posted an article on LinkedIn speaking about artificial intelligence architect. Okay, it took a couple of months to understand what they were looking for. There are at least four roles. They created a superhero. It's impossible because if I compare these rules with the digital and before digital, there was one each or two each. So now they think that they can have an architect for as a strategy, developing some solution, put together all the applications, so technical, and solve the problems with the integration between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. This is an example, the extreme example of how the roles can be, at the moment, created, invented, with the aim to reduce the number of people to hire, but also to create some rules that are to stay, because the more the artificial intelligence grows, other people develop other apps or modules and so on. You need to have a person that raise his head and say, okay, this is going here because there is a workflow. This is, I'm not sure, we create a separate environment. So they need to have a definition, a cleaning. This is the most evident role because I received some job advertisement in on LinkedIn, and I can see that there is architect. I'm not an architect, but to see what they are looking for every time they change the job description. Architect is the brand to remember.
So as machines take on more routine work, what human capabilities become more valuable, and how can organizations nurture them?
without making any special distinction in the roles between departments, because it could be a wide topic and argument to discuss. You need to consider that any problem needs a solution. So problem solving is somehow like a seasoned person like me can, and you can, because of experience, right? But before I had made so many analyses, so many reports, discussions. So now the time is reduced a lot, so you can stimulate your brain for problem solving. I confess that I tried to do it because I am creating simulators for my course.
Mm.
Okay, uh, it works for me because I started thinking about how many options, taking my time and asking it. Somebody, are you sure that we are not going there?
Yeah.
The answer was yes, no. Tell me why. When I received that information, I'm fine. I think I don't ask it to give me the solution because I feel jealous. I feel frustrated. I do it. Think about all the roles, also starting with the customer experience, customer management, where you have a robot that answers, which is fine. But then when you need to jump to a bigger problem, still
Yep.
your companies let you speak, chatting with human beings.
So one of the things that we're going to I think going to need to do is we're going to need to look at workforce transformation. What should be the first step any organization looking to start their workforce transformation be in this AI era?
Well, this is a part of my job. Firstly, why do you want to activate artificial intelligence? So the question here you must have advisor, because it's difficult for a person that is leaving a company to have clarity about what he wants. And here you define the goals. You start with four, and then you expand because they are connected. And then there is not the budget, this comes later, but there is the skills mapping. Okay, how and where people needs to be upskills, because they already have knowledge about something, or reskills. There are two different things, but you need to map.
Yeah.
Or you use a consultancy company or an advisor, or HR is involved, because for them this is also an experience to think about who they need to hire in the future, and then try to cover the gaps. And this is the first step.
And in terms of the reskilling and upskilling, how should leaders design reskilling programs? So in effect, you're going to do an as is review of people and the to be view of people, and recognize that we're going to need to have different skills. So what do we need to do to actually to design reskilling programs that's going to not just theoretically move the needle, but actually, increase employee capability and, more importantly, confidence?
Look, I make it simple now, but it is not. But
But please make it simple. I'm a simple person.
you are not bad. When you have the gaps of skills, you connect to their duties. Their duties can be seen as a modification of their workflow. And the workflow is because you need to reach the goals. So it's a reversing process. You go back, and the risk is not to invent something new, because it happened to me 2 weeks ago. I was astonished. I said, "Sorry, we had a conversation about the goals. No, why did you change it? There is no economic and financial value." But I think that this is can be a brandy stuff. I had to say no because it was so. Then to re-verify what are the goals is a matrix. Okay, it's a circle, but you need to go there, and you prepare, you design courses that are not very specific at the beginning, but they create a sort of path. Okay, a funnel, sorry, where people can see, oh, today we do this because this is connected, but still far. We do this because this is connected closer to what you do and what we are going to do, and so on until they have the metrics of their duties, but they have the goals that are in front of them. Doesn't mean that they need to be strategists.
Mm.
But remember that this has never happened in 50 years when the people didn't know anything about strategy goals.
Yeah. So that kind of moves on to my next question, which is not about strategy so much, but about measurement. Um, and so if anybody, if we're going to go to a CEO and say we want to do something about around AI, the CEO is probably going to say, what impact is that going to make on my business? And we can say, well, if you don't do anything, you're not going to exist, which is one way of approaching it. The other way is how do we actually measure success? Because in transformation, it's notoriously difficult. What metrics or indicators can we think best capture whether reskill or upskilling initiatives are working?
In this case, coming also from digital transformation and change management, I can say that there are something that comes from change management. You tick off the box because people are proceeding further to their changes.
Yep.
Okay. And this is quite easy because you can see where they are left behind. But there is still a matrix, let's call a matrix, but an indicator that you can call ROI and so on, where you specifically are focused on that goals. As I said, you started with four, but below then you have other sub goals to see if the main ones are reached, because
Yep.
otherwise you can't move forward. And you can put a realistic ROI for these four, not for all the companies, for all the workflows, or for everything. And then you start increasing the detail. The more you go ahead, people understand, remove the fear of the change. We spoke about nobody will steal your job because at the moment it's impossible.
Mm.
And then you evaluate the impact of ROI. You can have OKR, whatever, but
Yep.
it's a tiny, it's specific, so you can understand if you can move ahead or not, if you want to get something more.
And and finally, because we're just about running out of time, change often comes with resistance,
Mhm.
especially when it's technology driven change. What strategies have you seen work to build trust and engagement amongst employees?
For the current three projects that I am conducting, it depends on also the departments. So it's not something that fits for everybody, but there is one thing. You ask people what is the fear about? Then we have I transfer a lot of information, reduced, whatever, and I connect to what I want to create. So a change plan, but is connected directly with the reskilling or upskilling.
Yeah.
So is a lot of work behind the background, but at least, and then I am ready to spend some time remotely. We have a meeting where people can send me some questions, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and if it's not enough, then there is a sort of progressive, sorry, list refinement, because if there are people that still keep going to complain, to resist, we try to isolate them and bring somewhere and say, so can you stop, please? But there are very, very, very few, because there is another element that is important, is the curiosity. Everybody's curious.
Mm.
Okay.
Thank you, Luca Collina. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today. It's a fascinating subject, something that I think something that's impacting everybody today. And whatever organization is, there's going to be a discussion about AI somewhere, and the fact that we're going to have to change. So really appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise. Remind people where they can get hold of you.
Sorry?
Remind people where they can get hold of you.
Okay, I found I have my LinkedIn profile, and I will share soon the website on my LinkedIn profile.
Excellent.
And to subscribe my newsletter is not heavy pushing, is 2 times per week, because I have also to work. But if I can find something that it AI architect, I said stop. Now we write something, because I have received connections from these poor guys that have experienced 2 out of 4 of the tasks requires. Okay, so and we move on. Always a pleasure to be contacted on LinkedIn.
Excellent.
That's it. And thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on and sharing your expertise. I really appreciate it.